suppose I might as well start. This is more of a workshop than a talk, so that means it's much more of a two-way experience. So it's more like a discussion than me just standing up there telling you things, basically. Now, what it's about really is the importance of vegan outreach. In other words, the importance of educating people about veganism and trying to persuade members of the public to go vegan. Now, well, first of all, how many of you are vegan? Can everyone who's vegan put their hands up? So that's most people here. And the second question is about the reasons why you are vegan. And how many of you are primarily vegan because of the animals, because the animals are free? So once again, that's most people. And in fact, I think surveys have shown that about at least 70% of vegans become vegan because of the animals. Right. And now, the reason why spreading veganism is so important is because the majority of animals that are persecuted, killed, and exploited are done so. That happens to them for the food industry by far. In this country, there's about a billion land animals are killed to feed people in Britain. And if you add fish to that, that's maybe another couple of billion more. So several billion animals a year are slaughtered to feed people in Britain. And most of those animals are reared in appalling conditions, or else they're slaughtered by very cruel methods, or it's both. If you compare that to other things of animal abuse, for instance, the number of animals in vivisection labs in this country, the number of animal experiments every year is around about 4 million. So you can see, well, that's horrific and a terrible figure. That is so very much less than the number of animals that are slaughtered and suffer to feed people. And it's also promoting an attitude towards animals, because we've got all these different forms of cruelty that take place to animals. But that's really because people have the wrong attitudes towards other animals. They think that somehow they're entitled to treat animals cruelly, to use other animals. And so if we ever want to change that in a big way, because everyone here who's vegan because of concern for the animals, that's okay. But I was just explaining how most people are vegan out of concern for animals. And what I was going to go on to say was that therefore all of us want a world where animals are no longer exploited, abused, or oppressed. We want that, we want that to be a universal thing. And so therefore, it's in the interests of animals, and it's in the interests of what we want. To have a situation where everyone's vegan, or as many people as possible are vegan. Because if we have that situation, we'll have no animal abuse, or else animal abuse is going to be very much less than it is now. Now, the only people who can create more vegans, the only people who can persuade meat eaters or people that are vegetarian to go vegan are vegans. A meat eater isn't going to be able to persuade another meat eater to go vegan. They're not going to do that. That's not going to happen. So it's up to us vegans, to educate other people. Because if we don't do it, no one else is going to do it. And there's a real problem, I think, in that far too few vegans are involved in educating the public. And if you look at the situation now, what I'm going to go through is a list of things that don't create new vegans. A list of activities that don't work in terms of making new vegans. For instance, eating and drinking on the vegans doesn't persuade anyone to go vegan. Socialising on vegans doesn't persuade anyone to go vegan. Talking on Facebook with other vegans doesn't either. Nor does sharing images of cruelty on Facebook or whatever with other vegans, that doesn't persuade non-vegans to go vegan. Right? Talking on the phone with other vegans doesn't persuade non-vegans to go vegan. Or ourselves watching films about animal cruelty. That might educate us to some extent and give us some facts and figures that might be useful, but it doesn't directly educate members of the public to go vegan. And neither do reading magazines. We're reading magazines from the Vegan Society or animal protection groups. That doesn't do it either. But the trouble is, I think people think because they're active in a vegan way, that's kind of somehow helping. But what we've got to look at is, does that activity actually make a difference in terms of ordinary people? And all those things I've just mentioned don't do that. And the sort of thing that does create more vegans, that does persuade more people to go vegan, are things like information stalls in the street stalls or on stalls at events, vegan food giveaways, giving away free vegan food to get people to realise just how good vegan food can be. Film shows, film events to which the public are invited, where ordinary people, non-vegans, can come along and learn about veganism. Education events, vegan fairs like this one, where members of the public are encouraged to come along, where it's advertised, and where you get lots of people that aren't vegan coming along. Newspaper articles about veganism, and letters in newspapers about veganism. TV and radio interviews, where the person being interviewed is talking about veganism, encouraging listeners to go vegan. Now, all those things are activities which can and which do persuade ordinary people to go vegan. And so that's vegan activity. There are some things that give the appearance of something, but don't actually do something. And there are other things that really do achieve something. And that last list of things are activities that can actually make a difference in terms of educating people to go vegan. Now, according to the Vegan Society, there are 150,000 vegans in this country. And a lot of people say that that's a very conservative estimate. In fact, there's a lot more than that. But let's say, for the sake of argument, we've got 150,000 vegans in the UK. Now, say it took every event that was organised to promote veganism. Say it took 10 vegans to do that event, and mostly it doesn't. I mean, 2 people can do a street sports stall, 1 person can write letters to the newspaper. You don't normally need as many as 10. An event like this may need 10 people involved in running it, for instance. And I don't think this one does it, Ruth? It's not less than this year, not just year. Even this, there aren't 10 organisers at this event. I mean, there's more than 10 stallholders, but the actual organisers are fewer. So that figure of 10 vegans for each event is very, how can I say, it's a very big estimate, but just for the sake of argument, let's say 10 vegans per event. That would mean that if all those 150,000 vegans were involved in organising just one event a month, it could be a street stall, it could just be a letter to the newspaper, trying to get an article in the newspaper, organising a food event, anything like that, just being involved in doing it, right? That would mean that there would be 15,000 vegan outreach events every month, which would be 3,000 every week, and which would be an average of 500 in this country, 500 vegan outreach events every day. And if you think, how great that would be for educating the public if we had 500 events a day, right? And in fact, it would be more than that, because most of these events would need fewer than 10 vegans. If we say 5 vegans per event, then you've got 1,000 events per day. So that's the potential that we've got for educating people. If everyone who's vegan just did a little bit of outreach, just did one event a month, that is the potential we've got for vegan education. And of course, then all the new vegans that were educated, if they did it, then instead of having, very soon, instead of having 150,000 vegans doing outreach, we have 300,000, we have 1 million. Somebody wants me. So it would spiral, it would increase like that. And it's just trying to get vegans to do outreach. Now, who here in this room, is involved in outreach or has done vegan outreach at all? Okay. And what sort of thing have you been? Well, we know Ruth is involved in this, but for instance, what kind of thing have you done, for instance, in terms of
the service demo?
Sorry?
The service demo, nothing.
The service demo. Well, that's kind of, that's trying to get people to boycott the services degree. So that's that's helpful in terms of some activities. So who else was? Yeah.
Well, we have done circus, we've done
a couple of years ago was on the World Vegan Day.
Yes.
We did some stalls, information stalls in Italy, and we showed some videos.
From the McDonald's Bible instead of things.
Yeah. So that's one or two people, but the people that haven't done outreach, the vegans here that haven't done outreach, what I'm interested in is there a reason why you haven't? Could anyone that hasn't done outreach tell me kind of why it is that they haven't done that or they haven't done that yet? Is anyone that can?
Well, personally, I'm sort of not happy with labelling as a thing and my word as vegan or human. But the divisions are something which I think are not very useful between people. As soon as you mention a particular label, be it vegan or whatever, essentially people have this concept made up of everything that they've heard of before, and depending on whether they are either more open or more closed to you. And so sometimes I think using a label like vegan isn't necessarily useful in getting people to think about the issues that lead you to become a vegan.
But I think it's difficult because it has to be called something.
Yeah, sure.
You see. And things are always called things that can be kind of shorthand terms what they really are, otherwise we'd be going into long sentences to describe what we're doing. So, vegan outreach is about educating people, trying to get people to change their attitudes and behaviour towards other animals, because that's the fundamental problem. Because it's people's behaviour towards other animals, or in relation to other animals, that is causing all this suffering and slaughter. Even if that's just people's behaviour as consumers, because most people don't directly do anything for those animals, and most people are actually opposed to cruelty to animals. They wouldn't like the idea of a dog being kicked or of an animal being cruelly treated. They don't mind to think of those things. But as consumers, people are supporting the consumption of animal products and thereby supporting industries that do that. So that's where the importance of educating people comes into. So it's like educating people to boycott those things and not to be part of that. And vegan outreach is used as a term to describe vegan education or humane education or whatever people might describe it, but it's the process of educating people to behave differently in relation to animals. So that's why it has a label. Is there anyone else that can tell me why they're not?
I can put my hand up because I don't think I've got a list at the moment. Although I have had a few ideas for being here today. I personally have found Facebook a fantastic tool for vegan outreach. And I've got, at the moment, I belong to several groups that rescue animals in crisis around the world, especially in Eastern Europe. And I purposely, I sound quite predatory when I say this, but I go looking for non-vegans and friend them, and I put up lots and lots of vegan information on my particular page. And I would say, conservative estimates, I've encouraged and helped about 10 or 15 people, and that's a conservative estimate, to make the transition from vegetarianism and eating meat to becoming fully vegan. And one of the tools I've used, which I found an amazing tool, is the Earth Rings. And it's not called Vegan Maker for nothing. And quite a few of my friends have watched it and as a result have become vegan. I haven't done street stalls, although I'm very interested in doing one over Christmas, and I'm thinking of asking my local paper hall if I can use one of their rooms for something like today. But for me personally, I found Facebook to be an amazing tool for vegan education and activism.
I think Facebook can be useful if it's used in the right way.
I have lots of vegan friends on it, but I have lots of...
but I tend to find that, Facebook is very, very useful for telling people about events. You see, that's where I find it. But I also find that a lot of vegans on Facebook are only on there talking to other vegans.
Yes, that is true.
Spending loads of time talking to other vegans, and I think that because they're active in their involvement with vegans, it kind of makes you think, oh, I'm doing something.
Yes, I agree.
And in fact, that's not the case. What you're doing is different because you are ordering stuff and you're using just a different way of doing it. You're kind of doing it online. But in general, vegans tend not to use Facebook like you use it.
And they tend to swear at each other a lot as well.
And there's a lot of infighting.
There's a lot of
it's kind of, we're all on the same side.
Yes, exactly.
We're not. Nobody is going to agree 100% with anyone else. And I think sometimes we have to agree to differ because there's a much bigger enemy than one another. And we need to unite really and accept, because there are only minor differences. What happens is you get two people that agree on 99% things, and then they'll kill each other over disagreeing on another 1%, don't they? But that's right. So you're an exception, I'd say, in your use of Facebook. Right?
That's a shame if that's the case. I can't say yes or no to that, but
yes, in my experience,
because it could be a fantastic tool.
I think it's if used in that way.
What I didn't like about Facebook and veganism, some of my vegan friends put all these horrific pictures of
animals slaughtered. I can't ride it. Absolutely.
No.
To people that already know about that.
And it puts people off. It drives you away.
That's the thing. But they probably think, oh, I'm doing something because I put that picture up.
All the time.
You're not really, because the only people that have seen that is other vegans, and you're probably upset on vegans that know about that already.
We don't need it.
And we don't.
There are so many ways to educate. That isn't one of them. I don't think so.
Yes.
Sorry, but I completely disagree in few things. I think we have to divide to understand few things. Facebook and other media are not neutral. They are not neutral. There are a lot of capitals from right parties in the US who invest money in Facebook, and putting these things, can help to giving a bit of awareness about the vegan cause, but there are all other kind of exploitation of value and creating content. So there are different things that go in the use of media. So there are different ways of seeing things, and so it's not so easy as you say. The use of the medium. There are different things that
I think Facebook can.
No, I don't want to question directly on Facebook, maybe, but sometimes we use different tools without having the real awareness about these things works, and there are other kinds of exploitation. Maybe not animal exploitation, but there are other kinds of exploitation related to animal exploitation, and we have to understand there are other links. Things are also related to impression and sacrifice from things.
Yeah.
I know that somebody else is not interested, it's hard to understand these things, but...
Yes. You see, the difficulty is, that it's thinking more about what is actually going to work and what's not going to work in terms of what we do. Because just being active in some way, thinking, I'm active in vegan circles, so to speak, doesn't necessarily mean that you're having an impact on non-vegans. That's the point. And we have to relate to non-vegans. We have to mix with people that aren't vegans. We've got to get our message to those people. Otherwise, we're not going to make them vegans. If we don't make them vegans, then there's not going to be very much change in terms of, there's going to be no change in terms of how animals are treated, and that's the kind of bottom line. Is there anyone else that can say why they're kind of not?
I'm not on Facebook anymore.
No,
I don't really sign out.
Yeah.
But when I was on it, I used to also do these kind of things and I put the images out and everything. But I think that there's nothing like a direct contact, eye contact, a face-to-face talk to someone and trying to explain things. It's really more effective, I think.
I think you can direct people to online resources when you're actually out in public. For instance, the groups I'm involved in, vegan outreach groups I'm involved in, we have Facebook groups, Facebook pages, websites, Twitter, all those things. But ordinary people aren't going to find out about those things by chance if they get a leaflet in their hand that's got the addresses of those internet resources. Then they can go online and then they can learn more from online. But they're not going to just happen to come across those things. Because the other thing that I mentioned earlier was the media. I think in general, vegan campaigners aren't particularly good at using the ordinary media. I'm mainly talking about local media, really, rather than, it's very difficult to kind of get stuff in national newspapers, to get very much in national newspapers, to get everything accurate in there. But local newspapers are read by tens of thousands of people. Local radio stations they're also listened to by thousands of people. And it's much easier to get a message out on those things. And that means kind of people learning how to do good press releases, for instance. People learning how to do an interview, do a radio interview or television. You don't have to get a television interview, but sometimes you may do regional news programs. But it's mainly newspapers and radio. And also newspapers, the letters pages. It's said that the page in a local newspaper that's read more by people than any other page is the letters page. I think that's maybe because people are naturally nosy and they want to see what other people have to say, but the letters pages are very frequently read. So getting a letter in the newspaper promotes veganism. That can be, that can be worth thousands of leaflets, because if thousands of people see that, then there's an opportunity for it to educate. And quite often you can get the details of websites, including letters or materials, so that people can then see that and then they can go online and they can learn more. So that's another way of doing it, and that's the use of media. Because the thing is with the use of Facebook, unless you kind of really go out to push it to non-vegans, most of the friends on Facebook are going to be, nearly all my friends on Facebook are vegan, because they're people that want to be in touch with me, and they're people that know me one way or another. But people that read a local newspaper, most of them like it. They're already members of the public, so it's far more important to get something in that type of media which actually reaches the public than in another type of media where it doesn't really do that. And I think that's where we need to think all the time, is my message going to actually reach non-vegans, and is my message going to be able to educate people about veganism that aren't educated at the moment. Now, is there anyone else got any questions or anything they want to say about anything? Because it's important to kind of share ideas on things. What we think is the best way of getting the message out there. And different people have different ideas on that. And, some of those ideas may be very good. They may be ideas that other people haven't thought of. So it's very important to have that sharing exercise so we can all learn from one another. Chris, there's one thing that Ruth does locally in Marcus is they've got a spot on a local community radio station.
Yeah, vegan. We're the only vegan radio station a show in the country, and I wish other people would do the same.
Yeah. So where people have got a community radio station, might be possible to approach them and say, "Can we do a program?" Is it once a month?
No, it's every couple of weeks.
Every couple of weeks, as the program goes out,
it goes out twice. It goes on a Thursday, then a Saturday, so you get 2-hour-long slots of non-vegan.
So that's another way of doing it. Think how many thousands of people listen to that. It's an excellent way. That's another thing